6th episode of something we've called Walking the Path, where we just tune in and reflect on what's going on in our lives, what we're noticing in the lives of the people around us. We're just talking about themes like authenticity, self-love, self-care, honoring our body, learning to flow and also build structure, see what we need in our lives just to be happy, healthy, and well in all ways. And so today we're just going to take a look a little bit at that feeling of being defeated, or the sense of helplessness, that sense of having the moment of there's nothing I can do, or there's nothing we can do, just the feeling of overwhelm, like things are just too big or too much, and how to navigate that with grace and with a lot of care and breath and so much more. So that's what we'll be diving into today. So welcome, Kristin. Thank you for being here with me.
Thank you so much. I'm so grateful that we get to have these conversations every week. And it feels as though I feel like we started doing these just at the perfect time a few weeks back. And it seems like the external restrictions and guidelines and rules and control have gotten more and more intense every week that we meet. And I'll just share that I've been really taking time to contemplate and accept this feeling of helplessness and kind of this trappedness in a greater sense of none of us in this lifetime have seen such great restriction as what we're experiencing right now. And it's quite surreal. I think there are days where I wake up and I'm like, is this really what's going on right now? And just sitting with my own thoughts and emotions, and writing it out, sharing with someone. If you have anyone who's willing to listen, it helps. It really helps a lot to get those tense feelings out of our bodies and create room for relaxing and a sense of ease inside. And I would like to just say too that it's perfectly acceptable, and I would say fairly normal right now to be having these feelings and these thoughts and these emotions around this sense of helplessness. Some people have expressed hopelessness, and like we've said in other episodes of Walking the Path recently, there's not really an end in sight, which is a brand new challenge for all of us mentally and emotionally. It's unprecedented for our mental ability to process what that means. When someone says infinity, like you're like, wow, that's really big, but I can't actually picture that. And so indefinitely we are, going to be under these restrictions. And I will just say that for me, I have felt a sense of comfort, sort of accepting to some degree that, okay, here's where we are today. And I can't go out and pretend that life is the way that it was before. And I have to accept that, and just sit with that. And how much can we let ourselves feel okay? And it doesn't mean we're condoning what's happening. It doesn't mean we agree with what's happening on a collective level. But we need to learn to be comfortable within our own being right now. And no one else can do that for us.
Yeah, that's so important. I know for me, even in recent years, I've been called to sit with helplessness and powerlessness, specifically when I felt like I couldn't move forward, or where I just had no inspiration to take new action or build anything. I really got to meet that, and really meet that frequency of there's nothing I can do, because it's one that I feel like many of us have been conditioned to avoid, and instead go into a reaction to that, which is like, there's always something you can do. There's always something you can do. There's always something you can do. And it's kind of an addictive energy of like doing something or like making a difference somehow, but it has this really agitated frequency to it. And it has a rushed quality, or you can even pressure someone else into seemingly right action. But again, those are qualities of fear: pressure, domination, manipulation, control, coercion. They're all a distrust frequency, which is valid. We've all lived in worlds of shadow and fear, and many of us have tasted love in ourselves, in relationship, in our work, and have so many beautiful visions that live in our heart of what the world could be. And that's partly why I say, for many of us who would be watching this, we can feel helpless or defeated. Like, I don't know if we can move through this, or I don't know if we can really create the world we want to live in. It doesn't look good right now. So it's just getting to sit with that, and also acknowledging the reality of impermanence, right? And things can feel eternal. Like there's nothing you can do forever and ever, right? The mind will project that in through the future. There's just, well, there's maybe nothing we could do or I could do right now when we're looking at a specific theme or reality or scenario. But that doesn't mean there's nothing we can do forever and ever. You know, and I do really sense that there'll be times in the coming weeks, months, years where we can take new action and act powerfully and build something beautiful and be creative and, you know, invite these like grace and illumination and harmony and all these things that can benefit us and others. So yeah, there's a lot of curiosity in myself in these times. And yeah, it is a practice to sit with those difficult emotions, or just that feeling of, I don't know if we can get to where we would like to be or live in the world we'd like to have, because it does really feel like the opposite is what's growing. And that's going to be alarming to any of us who have devoted our lives to growing in love and wisdom and care for the self and appreciation for others and communication and strengthening quality of relationships, commitment to healing, trauma, etc. So is there any comments you have on that, Kristin?
Yeah, a couple of things kind of culminating in some thoughts. Two things. Last night I was on a group call. I feel so fortunate that I've had this small group of friends and family. We've been meeting weekly since June, studying the gene keys. And we sort of thought we were coming to the end, and then collectively we used our imagination and, you know, combined our thoughts, and we are continuing on indefinitely. So that's exciting. And last night, it was kind of a transition night. We switched from one night of the week to the other, and then some of us weren't quite prepared because we lost a few days of time. And so instead, we listened to a woman who calls herself Oracle Girl, and we listened to a couple of her purification meditations. And she has a very soft, slow, rhythmic way of speaking. It's very hypnotic. And one of the meditations, she basically said what I understand the point of yoga to be, or the main focal point of the practice of yoga, which is becoming still inside and outside. And if we can practice and cultivate stillness in our lives, and like what better time to do that, you know, it allows the messages from our higher self to become very clear. And instead of trying to force answers and force actions, like you were saying, like, I have to do something, it's like, no, do the opposite. Just be, you know, that whole famous phrase of Ram Dass, be here now. It's so simple and so true in theory, and it requires a lot of commitment, practice, devotion, dedication, and determination to become still. And it's really about deeper and deeper layers of acceptance and surrender. And, you know, the practice of yoga is about taming the roaming tendencies of our minds. And our minds roam a lot. And, you know, a lot of what our minds are juggling around and bringing up and creating are just not useful pieces of data or information for our human being. And so, yeah, we're pretty diligent, Tanner and I, about meditating at least once a day. And sometimes we manage to do it twice a day. And, you know, a lot of people think they can't do it. Oh, I tried meditation, I'm really bad at it. And I'm like, yeah, that's the point. Like, we're all probably pretty bad at it if you want to call it good or bad. And that's why it's a practice. You know, it's not meditation mastery, it's meditation practice, it's yoga practice. But you have to get to the place in yourself where you have to want that for yourself. And, you know, ultimately what I'm realizing lately is I can share what I know, I can share my thoughts and ideas and perspectives. And at the end of the day, it's up to each one of us to take the reins of our own minds, you know, and choose the things that are going to be calming, centering, grounding, and create that inner stillness. There's a book called the Hatha Yoga Pradipika, and in it, there's a passage that says, a practitioner of yoga and meditation will persevere through everything that comes in the outside world. And if the world is falling apart around you, there is no excuse to not meditate and practice your yogic studies. You know, we can all find excuses for things all the time. And right now it feels like an all-time high of people pulling excuses out of like the back 40 and being like, oh yeah, pandemic, I can't, it's not working for me. Oh, COVID, like, ooh, and I'm just like, I've done it a bit too. And it's just like, okay, people, what are we really doing here? You know, like, how do we start showing up for ourselves, first of all?
Yeah. And really looking at how being and doing can come together in a new way. I mean, I think a lot of us, when we find personal development, spirituality, just get on that path of that growth and self-awareness, self-love, know thyself, be thyself, express thyself, etc. When on that path, there's this like, oh, being, what is being? And the idea of presence, cultivating presence and all these things, because we've lived in a society that values doing. What did you do today? What are you doing tomorrow? What are you doing the next day? What do you do for work? What do you do for this? So I have historically typically related in the field of doing and action. And so thus the identity is built around what we do, because that's where we've been relating. And the journey for so many of us has been like cultivating being and doing, how being can come together with action. So we're acting from love, acting from being. So being and doing are one, they're not separate. And then cultivating relationship in the field of being and doing. So there's a quality of presence that we can appreciate each other, the quality of being, of coming together, of being together. And we can take action from that space, but both being and doing are valued. And I think that's been a big initiation for many of us to value being and doing, the presence of being, and then what we do or the actions we take from that space. And they are typically different actions, where the quality of the action is different, because there is less of that fear-based frequency of agitation and aggression and all those things. And so I wonder, how much more our beings can flourish now, given that there's so many restrictions on what we can do and where we can go.
Absolutely. And I would just invite everyone listening to do your best to encourage yourself to pause and invite any amount of stillness into your day on a regular basis. You know, it can be every hour, it can be, you know, once a day, it could be before you go to sleep at night. I think the more frequently we practice pausing and inviting stillness in, cumulatively, it's going to create a sense of ease and grace and self-compassion and self-love. And you know, however you can do that. If you need to set a reminder on your phone, do that. You know, if you need to put a sticky note on your bathroom mirror that says, go sit down and find stillness for 5 minutes, or it can be whatever. You know, we need to, here's a thought. We all could use our imaginations so much right now, right? Because, you know, the old rules of how life looks are done. Maybe forever. I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball. But we can use our imaginations as individual humans with this incredible capacity to create new pathways in our brains, create new habits in our daily lives, create new thought patterns for ourselves, create new energetic frequencies, and use our imaginations to set ourselves up for thriving in these times, you know, whatever that looks like for you. For each person, it's a little different. But I invite everyone to do that. And perhaps those guidelines and inspirations will come through moments of stillness in the coming days.
Yeah, I love that. Because it's, as we cultivate that space in between thought, then there's room for inspiration to come in, and even new solutions to come in from, you could name source or creator, like a different frequencies and energies can, of who we are, can incarnate here. That involution I was talking about or touching on last time we met, a theme from the gene keys, like grace and all these acidic frequencies can incarnate here through the process of involution and inspire evolution. So those two elements can really work together within us to birth something new. And so we can be a part of that, to cultivate stillness and the space to receive inspiration, receive new frequencies that can resource us and support us to have resilience in these times. So I so appreciate being here with you today, Kristin, and for this 26th episode of Walking the Path. Do you have anything in closing that you want to share?
Yes, just one last thought. We just finished studying the Pearl sequence of the Gene Keys, and in it, Richard Rudd talks about the word philanthropy. And he says a lot of people think philanthropy means people who have tons of money who are just throwing it around to charities and trying to be, you know, a do-gooder or whatever. But in reality, the word philanthropy means the love of humanity. And it just dawned on me that I really feel that's why you and I record these conversations, is because we have this deep, deep love of humans and our human state and condition and our human behaviors. And we just, I think we just want to offer our love and compassion out to everyone right now. It's not an easy time. And I think we can acknowledge that together.
Thank you. Yeah, honoring our humanity and bringing love to that, because it right now can be so easy to get caught in perspectives or on a side and lose sight of humanity and the uniting features and factors of us all being here on this planet together at this time. So thank you everyone for watching, listening, being with us here. There will be more to come. And yeah, I just want to say, may we all be loved, cared for, honored, and appreciated, and walk the path and find our way to what we're truly seeking in our hearts. So thank you all.